Just listen. I'm sorry what I did to Compton.
You are listening to
Fire emergency.
Please don't talk, just listen. I'm sorry I killed that girl.
straight from Buenos Dias Media Studios in New York City. I'm your host, David, and I am here with my co-host, Charles and JR in the building.
Everyone.
Yo.
And this is the Grim Fix Podcast. Yes, we are here once again. Today we have a interesting topic that we will be discussing, right?
Yeah, we spoke about it a couple of times in different episodes.
Well, let me get this right, because I know that they fixed it now. You can't say back then you used to know it as a multiple personality disorder, right?
Or split personality.
Or split personality. But now I don't know why they do this. They change the names. It basically means the same thing. Now it's called, what is it?
Dissociative Identity Disorder.
Dissociative Identity Disorder. D.I.D.
Well, time changes, and I guess like people go with the times and whatever.
You know what? They should just leave it dumbed down for a lot of people, you know, because
True.
me personally, I saw that I was like, no, I didn't know what it was until I read, a little bit further. It says it's the new way to say it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's like you can't say a person is autistic anymore. And now you have to say they're on the, what is it, autism spectrum, or they're on the
but that's
spectrum.
different. Isn't the D.I.D like the new official like diagnosis?
Well, it is. Yeah, that's the new. But that's what I'm saying is like people know somebody that has a split personality or has multiple personalities. Then that's it. That's how you're gonna remember. Oh, multiple personality disorder. They have a disorder with multiple personalities. But now, dissociative.
What's the scientific way of saying it?
Dissociative, not disassociative. Dissociative Identity Disorder.
They even complicate it even more.
Yeah, man. It's just I don't get it. It's like now, just like also you can't say when people, and in Puerto Rico, I know people love using this term, bipolar.
Yeah.
You can't say that when you refer to children. You can't say they're bipolar. You have to say they have a mood disorder. Why?
En serio?
I don't know, man. But yeah, this is anyway.
A mood disorder.
Yep. So if you guys are listening to us and on podcast platforms, I want to thank you, first of all, for tuning in once again and listening to us. We ask that you subscribe or follow the podcast, and above all, share it on your social media, share it with your friends, share it on a text. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform. It could be Apple Podcasts, it could be Spotify, iHeart Music, on Amazon Music, a bunch of them. Yes, follow us. If you are watching us on YouTube, thank you for watching us. And please subscribe to the channel. It is totally free. Like the video, and also share it on your social media. Share it with your friends. Share it in the text.
Share it like LimeWire.
Yeah, just share it. All right. I want to just remind you that you can find us also on social media platforms such as Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, which we barely use, but we're there. So I was having a conversation yesterday about social media, and it's crazy because you know how as time passes, certain social medias, they get old, basically. Yeah, they fade away, right?
Yeah, like MySpace.
So MySpace went away, but like Facebook, right? When you look at Facebook, they were telling me, it's like, oh, nobody really uses Facebook anymore. I was like, I don't necessarily agree with that, because it depends where you are. Like in Puerto Rico, people still use Facebook.
Yeah, they're really hanging.
Yes.
Everybody's on Facebook. And because we were talking about how little by little people have stopped using Facebook. And when Instagram was popping, people stopped using Facebook to use Instagram. Then they stopped using Instagram to use what was the other
Snapchat.
one? Snapchat. And then Instagram got on the filters like Snapchat. So everybody went back to Instagram. Snapchat is little by little dying. Then TikTok comes along. And TikTok was more, for the kids and the dancing videos. But the truth is that TikTok now has become, it's like the new Google for kids. Like they want to learn something, they won't Google it. They'll search it on TikTok and they'll find. I mean, there's tons of great information on TikTok. People still think, and again, those who think that it's only dance videos, those are the ones that people consider, oh, you're old. You're dating yourself because you don't know anything about the new social media. And the truth is that, like, it's not only dancing, just like Twitch. I mentioned Twitch in Puerto Rico. Many people didn't even know what I was talking about.
Yeah, they'll probably pop later on.
Mostly, a lot of people that I mentioned it to, one person was like, oh, isn't that for gamers? No, it was. Not anymore. But anyway.
Everybody uses Twitch.
Well,
they even use it for like real life, recording.
Yes,
stuff,
yes.
And
now it's like live shows.
When I was over there, I didn't hear about that. I didn't even know about it.
It's like a chat room, and people are chatting while they're watching you do whatever it is that you're doing.
Yep.
Say it like playing games or just dancing or I don't know.
But that's
crazy.
That's what we were saying, that it's like it depends where you are in the world, which is why I like I use Facebook more for like personal things. I will promote the show. The show does have its own like page, but it's not something like I don't know. It's like I mean all social media is used differently. Instagram, I'll post a picture every so often. I'm not a social media influencer, so I'm not gonna be posting 20 pictures a day. And I know that for the show's purposes, we're supposed to do that. We're supposed to post at least 3 times a day, at least 7 days a week. We should be posting for the show's purpose to be able to, bring engagement, bring awareness, bring more eyes to our YouTube channel and more ears to our podcast.
Right.
But that's where, we're slacking on that. But we're still on these social media sites. All this I just wanted to say because I know that when I mention Facebook, some people are like, Facebook. But the truth is, yes. And to be honest, when I post the show on Facebook, it usually gets more views and listens.
Really?
Really?
Yep. So anyway, that's that. So we are talking about the dissociative identity disorder. We're going to be talking about some murderers, right? I don't know if they're serial killers per se, but murderers.
I'll call them more cases.
Yeah, well, cases of murderers that try to use multiple personality disorder as a quote unquote cop out, right? So we will read this information. We will read you the cases, and we'll also be going down a list of movies that are associated with dissociative identity disorder.
That's a mouthful.
I have to look at the word every time I say it. I don't want to sound like an idiot. So first, in order to put everyone in the correct perspective, in the correct mind frame, we're going to read information basically explaining what here they wrote it as multiple personality disorders.
Right.
We're going to give a little bit of it's actually is it a credible source? It's nurselearning.com. So I'm assuming this is for nurses to study. So let's read through that. You want me to read it?
Como quiera, whichever you want. You want me to read it? You want to read it? Either way.
Go ahead.
Okay. It says Understanding multiple personality disorders. The personality system. It says the average number of personalities for a person with MPD ranged from 8 to 13. However, there can be many more. Some cases have reported up to 100 or more personalities.
That is crazy right there.
That's a lot, bro.
To have that much people living inside your
Yo,
brain
you must be
must
going
be
nuts.
exhausting.
Yeah.
Really exhausting.
It says the personalities may be referred to as alter personalities, alternates, or alters. Collectively, they are referred to as a system. They are experienced by the patient as distinct and separate individuals with their own way of perceiving the world and responding to it. Remember, they have been created in order to dilute the impact of the trauma on the abused child. Therefore, will have different memories or perceptions of the abusive experience, or no memory of it at all. They have been created to perform different functions of life. Thus, the various genders, ages, ethnic background, names, and character traits, which are dependent upon their particular role within the system. Each personality may support its own style of dress, handwriting, speech pattern, mannerism, walk, like and dislikes, even eyeglass prescriptions, and responses to medication. One alter may even have a disease that the others do not. For example, diabetes or asthma. That shit bugs me out, yo.
Crazy.
That shit bugs me out.
Like the movie Split, yeah.
Exactly.
Your brain is able to alter everything inside you.
Yo, that shit is freaking crazy. You know, you use medication for one thing that you have in your own body, but the other one doesn't have it. It's freaking weird.
Diabetes.
Yeah, like in the movie,
Diabetes.
one of the personalities has diabetes.
Right, and one of them
insulin.
one of them uses the eyeglass, the glasses.
That is so crazy.
That's
like
this just proves, man, the power of the brain.
The mind.
Yep. It goes, often alters are created who express impulses perceived as forbidden by the child, such as anger, defiance, promiscuity, or violence. The names of the alters often have a symbolic meaning. For example, Melody might be the name of a personality who expresses herself through music, or the personality could be given the name of its function, such as the protector or the perpetrator. The legal personality is the person with the legal name of the body, or the birth personality. This is also called the original personality and is the identity from which the first other personality split off. This may or may not be the same as the host personality. The host is the personality who has executive control of the body the greatest percentage of time. This host may have completely taken over the basic functions of daily life for a legal personality who is too overwhelmed to participate at all. Or the host might be the only one perceived by the system as being able to keep the system under control and intact. That's
wow.
Yo,
that's
I'm telling you, bro.
wow. I'm so, yeah.
It's like one of the cases that we're gonna talk about. He actually is a lefty with all his personalities, and one of them is a freaking righty.
Wow.
And he writes
so basically the legal personality is the person
like
that
saying,
was
like,
right there from the start, but that doesn't mean that he's the host, because the host is the personality that has more control over the other ones. And that doesn't mean that has to be the legal one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like this some crazy shit, man. It's one that's usually not shown. Sometimes there's one. The way if you read further, they talk about there's one that there's not shown that the others won't see. He'll talk like between all his personality, they'll speak to each other, but any other person that's in front of him won't see that personality. They'll see the rest, but not that. And he's like basically, the way I consider it is like he'll be the bully. They're like in like Split. Remember
Okay.
Beast? He
Yeah.
wouldn't come out until like the last moment. Something like that.
Interesting.
It is.
I'm just thinking about, like, I think about, like, when you see, I mean, obviously there's a ton of different types of mental illness, if we can say that, right? But like I think about these personalities, and I often think, like, do they talk to each other? Like, is it like a whole conversation in their head? Like, I saw this homeless. Well, I don't know if he was. I don't think he was homeless, but he looked like a homeless guy.
Can you say homeless?
But yeah, I mean, it's the correct term.
Or
vagabond.
You're not saying bum. Like, you shouldn't be saying that. But
bum or vagabond.
But yeah, this guy, he was sitting at the park bench and he was having like this very intense conversation. And I'm thinking, I was like, oh, maybe he's talking on the phone. So I walked past in front of him. No phone, no headphones, no nothing. But he's having I'm talking about, this was like a deep conversation. And whoever he was talking to was talking back, because he kept telling whoever, he goes, no, you're not listening. You're not understanding what I'm telling you.
But
and he would explain it.
Can't that be considered schizophrenia? Where
That's
they
what I'm saying.
see
There's
a hallucination, they talk to it like if they were there.
Tons of mental health. That's what I'm saying. It could be anything at this point. I mean, you could say the same thing about people with D.I.D. It's like there's no way of proving, unless, I think, like, the way you can prove it would be, like they said there, like one personality has a sickness, takes a medication that would, like, the best example for me is the whole diabetes, because somebody who does not have diabetes, if they take insulin, that shit can kill them. So
yeah, but remember this thing, it's because of a trauma. You weren't born with it. Something happened to you that
a
made
trauma
you
when
create.
usually happens when you're a child.
That's how you can tell, maybe, like, hey, I wasn't born with this. Something happened to me, and after that, like, this started to happen. Like, maybe that's a way of identifying it, right?
Well, yeah. It's just, I don't know, man. I feel like mental health is so tricky.
Yes.
It's so tricky because it's
You
certain
can't tell
conditions,
who's faking
not all
it.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Certain conditions, they can be faked so easily.
Yeah.
And especially like in today's society where everybody uses that word trauma for everything now. Everybody has trauma. Everybody needs a therapist. Everybody has anxiety. It's very tricky to, I think, right? I'm not a doctor, obviously.
Yeah, we're neither of us are.
Like who's for real and who's not? I mean, but anyway, we're not doctors here, so let's continue.
We're what? Speculating?
Well, that's what this is. This is all speculation and bullshit talking, because we don't know what we're talking about.
Well, no, but what we're reading, it's what people do know
Well, this
about.
is what medical, but you see these medical. So I'm going to give you an example. This is why when people talk about doctors and nurses, of course, these are people that they go to school to be who they become, right? The career path. So they are people smart, right? There are smart people. They are people that know what they're talking about. But to be honest, they are people who know what they were taught, right? Why do I say this? I am not a doctor. I'm not a specialist. I'm not a professional in any way. But I do have a friend of mine that is going to school to become a nurse. And I read the most hilarious thing. So I have this friend and she's going to school to be a nurse. And she sends my wife and I a picture of a book that she has to read for one of her classes. And in that book, they're talking about trauma, they're talking about cultural differences, they're talking about ethnicity, and all the different conditions that might apply to depending where you come from in the world, right? In that text, there's a part that says, because Puerto Ricans, people in the Caribbean, people from Puerto Rico, suffer. I'm paraphrasing because I wish I had the snapshot here.
You're not quoting. You're paraphrasing.
I'm paraphrasing here. It says that people from Puerto Rico suffer from a condition that they don't suffer anywhere else, right? And that condition, for those of you who speak Spanish, you will understand what I'm about to say. It says Puerto Ricans suffer from a condition called ataques.
A what? What?
Are you bullshitting me, yo?
I swear to you.
Ataques.
Ataques.
What the hell is that?
So, for those who have lived in PR, you've ever heard, I'm pretty sure you've heard it once or twice. If someone has, let's say, epilepsy, le dio un ataque, right?
Oh.
Okay, wait. If a person faints, eso fue que le dio un ataque.
Se murió, le dio un ataque.
See, so you see how stupid that sounds? I couldn't believe what I was like, get the fuck out of here. They're showing this in school, in college for nursing.
Wow.
So that's why I take things like this with a grain of salt, because just because a doctor said it, that doesn't mean it's 100% true. That's probably what they think. They know what they've been taught. And I mean, obviously, they do have like hypothesis, or maybe this is a theory. But people like us that know nothing about this, we read it, it's like, oh shit, it's a fact. No. I swear to you, if I can find the snapshots,
yo, you gotta post that.
I'm gonna post it in the
Please.
YouTube video so people can see I'm not making this up. But I was insulted, because to be honest, it makes us sound so ignorant. And then I remember a few days later after I read that, there was an issue in PR about this girl that she went to, I think, Burger King or some shit, and she parked her car outside. No, not the girl that did the whole nonsense in Burger King. No, this is before that. She went to Burger King. She parked her car outside, I think it was, and she left her daughter in the car. So a cop came and told her,
I saw that one.
You can't
she got
do
arrested
this.
at the BK, right?
Yes. So he tells her, you need to move the car, blah, 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 blah. You can't park here. You left your daughter here. And she got all big and tough with the cop. She was doing the whole hands, and you can't fucking touch me. And she ran into the Burger King, and the cop followed her. He keeps telling her, give me your license and registration. She's doing a whole song so unnecessary, because he could have given her 1 million tickets for a whole bunch of things. All he's telling is, give me your license and registration. I'm not gonna give you nothing. You're doing all this in front of my daughter. And then I think
I saw this. I'm not sure, but I think I saw it.
Boyfriend comes in to defend her, and he's like, you can't touch her. You have to get a female cop.
A female officer, yeah.
And he just telling her, ma'am, I'm gonna have to, you're assaulting me, because she's like putting her hands on him. He goes, ma'am, you're assaulting me. I'm gonna have to arrest you. You can't do shit, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, they go back and forth to the point where he has to tase her and then arrest her, right?
Right.
The next day, the mom The mother of this woman comes out in the news crying, oh, the cop, he abused his power. He treated her like an animal. And when he tased her, I saw that she had an ataque.
I remember that.
So, yeah.
Oh shit!
I'm telling you, yeah. This is all true story. I'm not making this up.
So I don't blame that doctor then. I don't blame him. I don't blame him for
You
writing
can't
that.
blame him. That's what, that's what
No.
Puerto Ricans they demonstrate.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's not a medical condition.
No, I'm not saying it's a medical condition.
You know, it's
but
a term that
you
people
can't blame
use.
them because that's the way it's, that's the way everybody's acting over there.
It's a cultural thing already.
It is, yes. It's
Mhm.
a
Cultural thing
but
already.
it's a way of people. It's a way of saying it because that's not what's really
Expressing things.
happening.
Right.
You know, that's not a
expressing
medical
things.
term. It's just le dio un ataque. Like anyway, yeah, that's a true story. So let's go through these 5 criminals who claim to have multiple personalities. This is on mentalfloss.com. And this was written by Kristen Hunt, January 20, 2017, right? So let's breeze through this. The introduction, right? It says accused criminals have used some wild excuses to explain away their crimes. Ethan Couch said he suffered from affluenza. Dan White blamed junk food.
Wow.
In parentheses, well, not exactly. But perhaps the most controversial defense to this day is dissociative identity disorder, previously known as multiple personality disorder. Right. There's an enormous amount of suspicion surrounding dissociative identity disorder. Psychiatrists believe that people who suffer from this condition splinter their personality to deal with trauma, often childhood abuse. By this definition, someone with D.I.D. could conceivably commit a horrific crime and not even know it, because one of their quote-unquote multiples or quote-unquote alters did it instead. Skeptics believe criminals lie about having this disorder to avoid consequences, and it probably doesn't help that characters in pulpy movies like Fight Club, Identity, and M. Night Shyamalan's new film Split, which is not new anymore, all have it. Still, some courts have accepted this plea, as 3 of these real-life cases show. But the other 2 prove that D.I.D. remains a highly contentious legal defense. So the first case that they mention here is Billy Milligan. Most people trace the multiple personality defense back to Billy Milligan. Milligan was hauled into court in 1978 on several counts of rape, aggravated robbery, and kidnapping. His case soon garnered national attention when his lawyers pursued a plea of insanity, arguing that 2 different personalities had committed the crimes, not Mulligan. This defense was highly unusual for the time, but it worked. Milligan was found not guilty, and the judge committed him to a psychiatric hospital. He escaped for 4 months in 1986, and was released in 1991 and died from cancer in 2014. Psychiatrists have suggested that Milligan had as many as 24 personalities, including a Yugoslavian munitions expert and a 3-year-old girl. Milligan's life was also the subject of a nonfiction book, The Minds of Billy Milligan, which has long been in movie development, and if Leonardo DiCaprio has his way, he'll be starring as Milligan. So yeah, you see, I don't know. I really don't know like what to
Dude got away with it, yo.
How did he escape for 4 months?
I don't know.
One of his personalities was somebody, a lock expert or something.
Look. One of his personalities is extremely smart, and his name is Arthur. He's sophisticated and really educated. I mean, he knows his science and whatnot. So yeah, he must have figured out a way to get out.
A 3-year-old girl.
A
3-year-old girl.
3-year-old,
That's
yeah, it's
interesting.
Kristen. And then the thing is, he has a little boy that's her brother, Christopher.
Very
I'm telling you.
creative there.
Yeah. Then there's Adelana, which is a lesbian who cooks and cleans the house for the others and writes poetry.
I have a lesbian.
Huh?
I have a lesbian personality.
Okay, here goes one. Tommy. This is how he got out. Tommy is the escape artist. He's the escape artist.
See, it wasn't a escape artist.
But by that merit alone, I would be like, bro, you're right. You do have this. Go home. It wasn't you.
Man.
You know, you got a Yugoslavian, and all of a sudden he starts speaking in Yugoslavian. I don't know what's
that's.
the
I don't know. I'm guessing that's sort of like Russian.
If he starts speaking that way and have never spoken like that before, that'd be awesome.
Exactly.
Bro, there's a lot of things. There's one that plays the stacks and everything. You know.
Interesting. All right. Let's go to second case, which is Juanita Maxwell. Juanita Maxwell's legal problems began in 1979 when she was charged with beating a 73-year-old woman to death. The murder occurred at the hotel where Maxwell worked as a maid and where the woman in question, Inez Kelly, lived. But Maxwell insisted that she hadn't killed Kelly. Her brasher personality, Wanda Weston, had. Whereas Maxwell came off as quiet and prim, Weston was chatty and bragged about smoking weed. She had no problem admitting on the witness stand that she had bludgeoned Kelly with a lamp because the woman refused to return a pen. Maxwell's transformation on the stand spooked onlookers, and the court found her not guilty by reason of insanity. Maxwell was committed to a mental ward with the full support of her husband, Sammy. Yet, in 1988, after she was released, she landed in jail for robbing 2 banks in St. Petersburg, Florida. By that point, she had 7 personalities, but Wanda was still pinned as the culprit of the crimes. So what do we think about Juanita? You think
she robbed 2 banks.
Or was it Wanda Weston? I hate these.
I find that so made up.
They sound like made up characters.
From a Quentin Tarantino movie.
You know what that makes me think of? Like this. No. Check this out. You know Spider-Man. When you look at it, his real name is Double P, Peter Parker. That's what I'm looking at. You know, like Wanda Weston.
Yeah, sounds like a Stan Lee character.
Right, exactly. Maybe she was a superhero, you know.
She robbed 2 banks.
Robbed 2 banks. All right.
That'd be insane.
Let's go to Billy Joe Harris. When Billy Joe Harris...
Is this Twinkie guy?
I don't know. We're about to find out. When Billy Joe Harris was arrested in 2011... Oh, this is more recent. Police called him one of the most wanted men in Texas. Others knew him as the Twilight Rapist. Or as I said last week, the Raper.
The Raper.
His early morning assaults on elderly and disabled women. His DNA linked him to multiple attacks and burglaries spanning 2 years and several counties. Now, that'd be something that'll definitely prove that you have multiple people in you. If you had different DNA, imagine that shit.
Yo, that should be wild. But you never know, because it's like you said, you know, the power of the mind, it's just goes off the charts.
Right? Anyway.
Makes you have,
Changing your DNA, that'd be cool.
Okay. His DNA linked him to multiple attacks and burglaries spanning 2 years in several counties. Harris insisted he was not a serial rapist, though rather it was one of his alters. According to Psychology Today, Dr. Colin Ross testified in court that he believed Harris had dissociative identity disorder with reservations. He said he questioned Harris insanely high scores on the screening test for D.I.D, which were administered by the defense attorney, not Ross, and had caught Harris in lies about his personal life. Clearly, everyone else in the courtroom had suspicions too. Some jurors suppressed laughter when Harris became, quote unquote, Bobby, another one of his alleged personalities, on the stand. Worse still, he was recorded in a phone call to his girlfriend bragging about putting on a, quote unquote, good show in court. The judge tossed Ross's testimony and the jury convicted Harris. He received a life sentence, which he has tried to appeal so far with no success.
You're trying to appeal the same thing? Yeah, no, it wasn't me. It was my other personality. Really?
Yeah, man. But that's what bothers me when people take real conditions. Because I mean, I can't say this is not a real condition. And then they take away the seriousness of it by, you know, pretending and putting on a show to benefit them. You know, it's sort of like what Jussie Smollett did. You guys remember that case?
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Like
the guy from what was the show,
Empire, yeah.
Ah, yeah, okay.
You know, so this guy, he was blowing up as an actor and a singer, and you know, he was gay. Nobody cared. I mean,
Yeah,
that's totally accepted nowadays. And he was black. That's totally accepted nowadays. So all of a sudden, he makes this claim while Trump was president that two white guys wearing MAGA hats had yelled at him racial slurs and homophobic slurs while throwing, I think, bleach on him and saying, "Make America great again." And then they tied a noose and they put it around his neck. And this whole show about how he was, you know, being attacked because he was black, because he was gay. And then at the end of the day, found out that the two guys that did it were two African men, and they were paid by him to do that. And he put on this whole show. I don't know what was the purpose of it, to, I don't know, be a victim and be relevant. But anyway, point being that there are people in the world that do suffer real racism. There are people who do suffer real homophobia, and you took away the seriousness of that to weaponize it and use it in your benefit. So
I was just thinking about Cartman faking Tourette's. That's all I was thinking of.
Just getting away with it, cursing anybody out, getting away
cursing everybody. Yep.
Okay, so the last case here is Thomas Huskey. Thomas Huskey was known as, quote unquote, Zoo Man amongst prostitutes in Tennessee because he used to work in the elephant barn at Knoxville Zoo. But this whimsical nickname turned sinister when Huskey was charged with a string of murders. He confessed killing 4 women and was accused of raping and robbing 2 more. Police also recovered jewelry they believed Huskey had taken off his victims' bodies as souvenirs. Huskey's attorneys, however, insisted that their client had not confessed, kept trophies, or done anything wrong. The perpetrator was Kyle, his alternate personality. The first jury to hear this case could not reach a consensus on the murder, and the prosecution eventually gave up those charges. But Huskey was convicted of the rapes he committed before the murders and sentenced to 64 years in prison. The Knoxville News Sentinel called his case one of the most expensive in state history. The end. So Huskey.
The Zoo Man.
You know what bothers me also when I see cases like this, people that never showed any type of signs of anything until they get in trouble.
Because they want to get away with it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You know, they don't want to face the consequences for their actions.
we're not taking away, right, the fact that this is a real illness, the fact that there are real cases, real people that suffer real issues and incidents and, you know, trauma and all that stuff. So I just want to put that out there. We're not discrediting those who truly suffer from things like this.
Right. But there's a lot of a-holes that use that
But there
for
are
their
people,
benefit.
yeah, that they weaponize other people's conditions for their benefit. That's just a
Exactly.
fact.
And all that does is what? Make everybody look like, are they faking it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I'm telling you, everybody now has anxiety and everybody has depression and everybody needs a therapist. And the truth is that takes away from the seriousness of people who truly do
Exactly.
have and need these things.
Yep.
Anyway, but we are not doctors. So now Charles is going to run us through creepy catalog, right?
Yep.
With the 19 famous movies about split personalities. Movies about split personalities are featured in many famous thrillers and horror movies. Having a split personality is officially known as dissociative identity disorder. It is diagnosed when one person has two or more personalities and has a mental, quote-unquote, blackout when transitioning between them.
I have a big major question, but I'm gonna ask you guys like when he gets to the movie.
All right,
Okay.
Charles,
When he gets to that
shoot.
movie.
It says because this was written by. Did you say who was written by?
No.
Chrissy Stockton. This was updated this year on February 8th, 2023. Because split personalities are so rare and misunderstood and were once thought to have been caused by demonic possession, they are fascinating enough to have become a movie trope going back at least as far as the 1940s. Although for dramatic effect, films often make the personality states as different as night and day. For example, the mild-mannered Dr. Jekyll is the complete opposite of the evil Mr. Hyde in real life. The differences are much more subtle. Here are some of the most enduring and famous films that deal with split personalities. Now, I haven't seen most of these movies, but I've seen a couple of them, and yeah, they're crazy. They have Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This is from 1941. I haven't seen yet. I've personally seen that movie.
You saw it?
No.
I understood that. I personally saw it.
Oh, so the caption under the picture is very interesting because it says that it was the first horror movie ever to win an Academy Award.
Wow.
And it says, in this cinematic adaptation of Robert Louis Stevenson's classic 1886 novel, Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Spencer Tracy stars in the dual title roles. Henry Jekyll is a prominent London physician who is fascinated with the fact that all humans have the potential for both good and evil inside them. So he wonders whether he can develop a serum that rids a person of evil and isolates the good. He concocts a chemical compound that can conjure a person's evil side by experimenting on animals such as guinea pigs and rabbits. When a potential human subject dies, Dr. Jekyll decides to take the potion himself and transforms into the bestial Mr. Hyde, a malevolent character who begins murdering the people around him. He also develops an antidote that can bring him back to the good and non-murderous Dr. Jekyll. Then, when triggered by anxiety and not taking the serum, he finds that he morphs into Mr. Hyde anyway.
I feel like that's the movie they should remake.
They should, yeah. Like with the effects from now.
Hell
but
yeah.
he wasn't born with that. He chemically induced it.
Yeah. But it's just
the effects and very good acting.
Like
but it won an Academy Award. This movie must be good. Must be good.
You know who could play that? Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
You think so?
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Like I feel like the first time I heard about this type of story was in Looney Tunes.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
And they do like different versions of it because they do it with the doctor that does it, and then like Bugs Bunny also.
Right.
They also, I think there's a Tom and Jerry also episode that's like that. But yeah, I think like this is a movie they should redo this. Like they want to do these reboots and all these redoing the movie. They should do shit like this. I think it would be a great movie.
Yeah. But would you keep it with the times, or would you just keep it like the original one?
No, I would do it
Uh,
like
Keep it
today.
with exactly.
I would do it in today.
But I wouldn't change anything from original.
Yeah,
The
just
original
take the
story.
story. Yeah, the
Original
story would
story.
just in present time.
Exactly.
Right.
I think it would be an amazing movie. We should write that script.
We should.
Yeah.
Well, then they have The Three Faces of Eve. This is a 1957 movie. I haven't seen this movie. The caption under the picture says, real Eve signed 3 different contracts for each of her personalities to protect the studio from any possible legal action. That is
Yes.
bold.
Very.
Released the same year as the best-selling book of the same name by 2 psychiatrists who based their tome on a case study of a patient named Chris Costner Sizemore. The Three Faces of Eve stars Joanne Woodward in all 3 title roles. Eve White is a quiet, obedient, and rather dull housewife and mother who suffers from blackouts and memory lapses. She is entirely unaware of her alter ego, Eve Black, who is a wild woman that enjoys dancing, drinking, and cheating on her husband. While Eve is undergoing psychotherapy, a third phase emerges, that of Jane, who reveals that she endured childhood trauma when forced to kiss her grandmother's corpse during an open casket funeral. Wow, that
They had a force.
they made her kiss the dead grandma, and that was so traumatic that
Yo, I wouldn't force none of my kids for that, you know.
wow.
That's
Oh,
fucked
shit.
up.
Oh shit.
Kiss your grandma. No, kiss your grandma.
All right. So anyway, continue. Sorry.
So they have the 1960 movie Psycho, and the caption under the picture says, director Alfred Hitchcock bought rights to this novel and as many copies of the novel as he could to keep the ending a secret. So he bought every copy that he could just to keep the ending a secret. Now,
Bought it.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Yo, that's a little psycho
Really?
itself.
It says
Fat dude.
in this Hitchcock classic that is considered the world's first modern horror movie, Anthony Perkins stars as Norman Bates, the gentle and socially awkward proprietor of the remote Bates Motel in the California desert. Norman purports to live with his hectoring mother, but he has a secret. He dresses and acts like his mother in order to split his guilt away into her body. His mother is actually dead, and Norman is a serial killer. The film has a misleading title. If Norman Bates were an actual psychopath, he would not feel guilty. But he feels strong guilt for his actions, which is why his personality splits in 2, thus helping to temporarily assuage his self-loathing. So I never thought that. Yeah, it's true. It's very misleading because it shouldn't be called Psycho.
No, it shouldn't.
Well, if it was like in modern times, what would be called? D.I.D?
D.I.D.
He did it.
Then they have the 1976 Sibyl, and it says in Greek mythology, the Sibyls were women prophets who spoke with multiple voices. Based on the best-selling fictionalized biography by Flora Rita Schreiber about Shirley Ardell Mason, a real-life psychiatric patient who was treated for multiple personalities by an American psychiatrist named Cornelia Wilbur. Sybil was a TV miniseries lasting just over 3 hours. It starred Sally Field in the title role as an extremely troubled young substitute teacher whose condition is the result of extreme childhood abuse at the hands of her mother. Sybil allegedly had 16 alters, i.e. alter egos, some of whom were male. Joanne Woodward plays the part of Sybil's therapist who repeatedly saves her from suicide attempts while slowly concluding that Sybil's disorder is the result of maternal abuse. Sybil was remade as a TV movie in 2007 starring Tammy Blanchard in the title role and Jessica Lange as her therapist. Oh, I didn't know that. Jessica Lange was in it.
I don't know who she is.
Jessica Lange,
Yeah.
the old chick from American Horror Story,
Oh, okay. Yes. The circus leader.
the
The
circus
old
leader.
lady,
Yeah. Then they go to the 1978 movie Magic, and the caption says, "This movie was R.L. Stein's inspiration for the dummy Slappy in his
Slappy.
children's horror story series Goosebumps."
Goosebumps. Yeah, that shit was creepy as slappy.
Slappy.
Those
Crappy
dolls are
name.
creepy, man. Those dolls
They
are
are.
creepy in
They're
itself.
they're like what,
Yeah,
puppets?
Yeah.
You have one
Puppets.
sitting. You have one sitting on a chair. All that goes through your head is that it spins his head.
What was the name of the movie that they did? Was it Dead Silence, something like that? You guys remember that? That it's about
Yeah.
that, like one of those puppets.
Yeah. That silence.
Yeah, it was like in 2007, 2008. Anyway,
Yeah.
all right,
I
let's
vaguely
go.
remember.
So it says Sir Anthony Hopkins, again, who won an Oscar for his portrayal of the serial killer Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs, portrays a magician's assistant named Corky, whose career falls flat after the death of the magician he assisted. His manager, Ben, encourages him to become a ventriloquist. Though the aid of a crazy-eyed dummy called Fats, Corky's career begins to thrive, but then Corky finds himself being manipulated by Fats, not consciously aware that the dummy is merely a vessel onto which Corky is projecting his most sinister impulses. Seeking to escape the mental torment, Corky returns to his hometown and attempts to woo back his childhood sweetheart, Peggy, who is now happily married. A string of murders ensues. So that makes me think about that side story and season 4 of American Horror Story with Neil Patrick Harris, that he was a ventriloquist and he had a dummy. But that was his alter personality, and he ends up killing everybody.
Where's that? A movie?
Season 4 of American Horror Story. He was like in 3 episodes, and they had this little side story with him.
Which one was season 4?
The Freak Show one.
Yeah.
That's what made me think. Then they have the famous movie The Shining, which was in 1980. And this was interesting because I told you guys this earlier, but Jack Nicholson ate only cheese sandwiches for 2 weeks to get him in the right agitated mood for this role. He hates cheese. That is commitment right there.
That's commitment, yo.
Yeah.
This horror classic.
Like, super hungry.
Yeah. Super irritated, eating for 2 weeks cheese, only cheese. This horror classic, based on the 1977 Stephen King novel, was directed by Stanley Kubrick and stars Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall. Its title derives from the telepathic abilities that their 5-year-old son Danny has, which he refers to as the Shining. During a savagely bitter winter in a remote and isolated mountain hotel, Danny experiences several terrifying visions and converses with a supernatural being that he calls Tony, but which is actually a split part of Danny's personality. In 2013, King wrote a sequel called Dr. Sleep, featuring Danny as the main character. It was made into a film in 2019. I saw that one. It was pretty interesting.
It was interesting, yeah.
There's just no beer, no TV, make Homer something.
Make something. Then they have the 1997 movie Primal Fear, and it says Edward Norton was selected out of 2,100 actors who auditioned for the role of Aaron. When a seemingly simple-minded altar boy from Kentucky named Aaron Stampler is accused of brutally murdering a Chicago archbishop, retired lawyer Martin Bale, which is Richard Gere, comes out of retirement to take on the case pro bono because it presents a unique challenge. Public sympathy and all evidence points to Aaron being guilty, but Bale suspects that there's more than meets the eye. Complicating matters is that the case's prosecutor is a still bitter ex-lover of Bale's, and the fact that midway through the trial, Bale has reason to believe that Stampler suffers from dissociative identity disorder, and that a violent alter ego named Roy is responsible for the killing. There is also evidence that Stampler was molested by the Archbishop, which would make him a more sympathetic character to the jury, but would be bad for the case because it would prove Aaron with a motive. It would provide Aaron with a motive. But what if Aaron is actually an alter ego and Roy is the real killer? Or what if it's all an act by a sadistic murderer? There's some movies that I gotta drop down and watch later. Yeah. Because I've never heard of these movies.
No, neither have I.
I think I seen Primal Fear. I don't remember it exactly, but I do remember the whole Ed Norton.
I have a vague memory of the title. That's about it. Then they have the 1999 movie Fight Club, which I gotta say I haven't seen. Yeah, I suck.
Really? Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it.
And it says Edward Norton and Brad Pitt star in this cult classic. Fight Club, directed by David Fincher and based on the novel of the same name by Chuck. What do I have to say it? Palahniuk. Features one of the most ingrained names in pop culture when it comes to split personalities, Tyler Durden. Who is Tyler Durden? That is the question that haunts Fight Club and the source of a liberating and violent energy that pulls the plot of the movie. Suffice it to say, the split personality within Fight Club is the result of a man losing his mind to insomnia and the emptiness of his consumer life.
Yeah, but he only had like one personality there. That's it.
I guess.
And he got his from insomnia.
Yeah. Well, he had a mental break. That's what he had.
Mental breakdown, right?
Yeah. All right. Skip the next one. Go to the other
one. I'm gonna read the most that I've seen because there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
But I wanted to mention the Identity one because you saw it, which is it's a really good movie. It was in 2003, and it says several endings were filmed in order to protect the filmmaker's top secret ending.
Wow,
and that's a bonus feature on the DVD because actually I have that movie.
Oh, I haven't seen the bonus feature.
And they show you that different endings that they have just in case it was.
Well, the question that I have is on this movie.
I think one of the other endings was the fat dude. He was the killer, or somebody else. It was somebody different.
The fat dude. There was no fat dude in the personality. The main character was the one with the multiple personality. Was the fat dude.
Yeah, so lo estoy confundiendo. Sorry, but I think one of the other characters wasn't the kid. Anyways, it says Malcolm Rivers is a sadistic serial killer about to be convicted of murder and likely sentenced to the death penalty. In an alternate but concurrent plot, 10 strangers get stranded at a remote Nevada motel during a freak rainstorm when the road on either side of the motel is flooded. There is no food and no way of contacting the outside world. Then, one by one, the motel's tenants start getting murdered. Then we realize that, I don't know if you want me to spoil the ending or shouldn't I?
And we all saw it.
So. It says that the motel situation is all in the murderer's head, and his attorney successfully pleads insanity for his client as a result of him having several personalities. The only remaining task will be for the lawyer to transport his client to the asylum without getting killed.
He got away with it just like Billy Milligan did. Well,
which we all know what happened.
But he was going to psych ward. Now, my question is, you remember the part where they have him in the office, right?
Right.
All the doctors are around him.
Oh,
the one. Know what they were doing? What they did to cause that whole situation.
They made the personalities confront each other.
Exactly. And if they would kill off each other, would that person be normal?
Dead?
No, normal. If you end up with one alter, one of your personalities, would you be staying that personality itself, or would your body recreate more, or what? I don't know if I'm explaining myself,
I don't know, but they got me thinking, if your body can change, if your body can change so much as to, change whatever condition you have, eyesight or blood thing or whatever, if one of those personalities die, can the body shut down and die for real?
Well,
could it happen?
I don't know.
Could it happen? I mean, it could, right?
Well, I think you would be lost in your own head if you kill off all the personalities.
Yeah, but what if that personality is You know what I'm saying,
I
right?
don't.
Like,
Yeah, I feel you.
I don't think unless it's physical harm for real. I think yes. If a personality, right, quote unquote, dies, I think they just cease to exist. But
would it make the
Maybe
body cease
lost
to
it. I don't
exist
know.
as
I don't
well?
think so. No,
Because
I think
hey, like,
only
it changes your blood. It can happen.
it could. I don't know.
I don't know, man. Well, they mentioned a couple of them, like Hide and Seek in 2005, The Machinist, 2004. That was a Christian Bale movie.
Yeah.
Shutter Island in 2010 with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
But I wanted to mention the Black Swan movie because I really, really enjoyed this movie. This is a 2010 movie with Natalie Portman. And it says, in this psychological thriller directed by Darren Aronofsky, Natalie Portman won an Oscar for Best Actress for her role as Nina, a ballerina who is thrilled to receive the role of the White Swan in a production of Chow's what's the name? Tchaikovsky's ballet Swan Lake, but suddenly she is upstaged by Lily, an Ukrainian-born dancer who lands the role of the Black Swan. What initially seems like a rivalry becomes a strange friendship as the two put aside their differences and in one hallucinatory scene appear to have sex. But what if Lily is merely one of Nina's alternate identities? The movie is crazy.
I gotta see it.
Really, really, really good acting because, like they say, she won an Oscar for that movie. So
I gotta see that movie. I've heard the title, never seen it.
It's really interesting. They also mentioned the Halle Berry movie. I think I saw this movie like a really long time ago called Frankie and Alice. And so they mentioned the movie Split we've seen. That was in 2017. And they say this is the second in the Unbreakable film trilogy. The first was 2000's Unbreakable, and the third was 2019's Glass. James McAvoy stars as Kevin Wendell Crumb, a man whose psychotherapist diagnosed him with 23 split personalities. One day, one of his personalities kidnaps 3 teenage girls as they're leaving a mall birthday party and keeps them locked in his basement, tormenting them with his array of different personas. When a super sadistic 24th personality named the Beast begins to emerge, the girls must find a way to escape or face certain death. That was a good movie. I saw that at the movie theater.
I enjoyed it. I really liked it.
I need to
his
Glass.
His acting was really good.
Was immaculate.
Yes.
I loved it.
The Glass that was 2019 that says security guard Kevin Dunn, which was Bruce Willis, returns from 2000's Unbreakable and decides to use his self-proclaimed supernatural powers, expressed through an alter ego he calls the Overseer, to subdue Kevin Wendell Crumb, the villain from Split. Dunn finds himself confined in a mental institution along Crumb and a wheelchair-bound genius named Elijah Price, which was Samuel L. Jackson, who is also returning from Unbreakable. All 3 men are forgo to undergo analysis by a female psychiatrist who doubts that any of them have supernatural abilities. And that was a good movie as well.
Yeah.
I gotta see that one. I haven't seen.
You haven't seen that one?
Liked it. I still enjoy it. Split more.
Anyway, so let's finish this episode up. All right. So you guys have heard what D.I.D is, what it stands for. You guys heard 5 cases of alleged murderers that then tried to claim that they had D.I.D. And we also went down a list of movies that have to do with D.I.D, Dissociative Identity Disorder, or as we used to know it as multiple personality disorder or just split personality. So those of you listening and watching, what do you think of this? What do you think about the whole D.I.D situation? What do you think about these people that commit these murders and then they say, well, it wasn't me, man. It was Billy, my other personality. And then they do, I'm turning into Billy. And they start talking with like a southern accent or some shit. What do you think of that?
Well, estoy seguro que si lo ven puertorriqueño, le dio un ataque.
Yep.
Le dio un ataque.
What do you think of ataques?
Ataque, le dio un ataque.
Ataques for the Puerto Rican
Jeez.
Caribbean people.
Jeez.
So we want to remind you also, if you have a story, you want to be one of the topics for one of our shows, one of our episodes, we encourage you and invite you to send us your story at thegrimfixpodcast@gmail.com. If you wish to remain anonymous, you can just let us know that and we will do as you wish. Yeah. Subscribe to the channel, follow the podcast, share the video, share the podcast, and find us on social media as the Grim Fix Podcast. So this has been this week's episode. Till next week, guys, please be safe. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.